Hey everybody, it's Ed and Jefi here, and we are really excited about this episode today. We're featuring Ryan McMullen from Metpro, and it's all about on the top level about fitness and diet, but it goes a lot deeper than that. For those of us that are in coaching, you're going to see a lot of parallels here, and we think you're going to get a lot out of it. Jefi, any comments on that with your lost voice before we take it away?
I just think that after recording this episode with Ryan, I took so many notes that transfer from, like you said, fitness and health to real estate and coaching. And there's one thing Ryan said in here that I'm going to actually stick a sticky note up. And it's every time you go on a coaching call, pretend like you know nothing. Go in blank slate. Don't bring your ego. Just bring it and let your coach you up. Oh man, I can't wait to talk to Julie. I'm excited.
Check the ego at the door. And so everybody enjoy this episode. Hey Jefi, how are you?
I'm great, Ed. How are you?
Fantastic. So disclaimer for everybody, Jefi has lost her voice.
That's right. I wish I could say it was from working out too much, but it's not.
It's not. So the good news is she probably won't be talking over me as much as she normally does, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. So, hey, we're really excited. We've got Ryan McMullen with us from Metpro. Ryan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here.
Well, we're excited to have you. So a little backstory here. Jefi and I, we believe in, trying to get better and leaning into people, not FISBOing ourselves. And sure enough, our fitness was slipping due to the last 18 months of the challenges that we've been facing with working a lot and not working out and maybe not eating as right as we should.
Yeah.
And we both kind of hit a breaking point. And Jeff, I'm going to let you talk maybe a little bit about yours. And if you lose your voice, I'll take over. So go ahead.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah. We were actually at a Buffini conference and they were talking about Metpro. And I was like, wait, I've never heard of Metpro. I get online, I'm like Googling it and looking it up. And I think what I really loved is it was something I'd never done before. I don't eat meat, and we're going to talk about that later. And it's always really hard for me when I'm trying to build muscle and lose fat. And when I ended up working with Ryan, that's something we went through. But there was a huge driving piece of me that wanted to get my 52-year-old body looking good, and I needed help. So that was my motivation.
Yeah. And kind of likewise for me, as the market was raging, I saw my weight going up and up and up. I was familiar with Metpro and had used them in 2019 and got really fit at that time, and then had walked away from it and realized that I was drifting, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. Then got COVID. In the latter phases, and I was down for about a week, and I went to go run, and I couldn't go 1,000 meters. I was like, this is a problem. So I need to get everything in order. And that leads us to Ryan. So
here I am.
But we want, here he is. So what we want to talk about a little bit today is, maybe give us a quick background on Metpro, and then we'll go from there.
Actually, let's start with a quick background on Ryan.
Let's do that. Okay, so we're going to talk about Ryan a little bit. He gave us his bio, and something really jumped out at us. He is a fitness guru. He's been involved. He's owned and operated CrossFit gyms. He's really into nutrition, personal training. Does a great job. But your personal story is kind of interesting here. Talk about what was going on when you were 18 years old.
Oh boy, how long do I have? I'll
2
give you
minutes.
the short and condensed version. I was always a overweight kid growing up. I mean, ever since I can remember, I was, negative connotations. Maybe some would consider the fat kid, but I was big. Was always a big kid, tall, and overweight. And a lot of it was just due to my family. Just, my mom bless her soul, like, cooked every meal for us, which was awesome. And, a lot of great experience, but just overweight growing up. Even though I was active, I, played water polo, hockey, baseball, you name it. I was very active, but that's where the nutrition came into play. So 18, I was going off to college and getting ready to, kind of embark on a new journey. And I was sick of being overweight. I was 17 years old, 18. I was 275 pounds from the last chance I stepped on the scale. And I'm sure a lot of people can probably relate to, like, at some point you stop getting on the scale. You're nervous to see that number. So I went full force into diet and just exercise, and lost 90 pounds. I went from 275 to 185. And I will add, in a rather unhealthy way, which we can maybe talk about, but not good. Yeah. Not a good way. Okay. I lost that weight in 6 months.
Okay.
Whoa. Yeah. So we can't talk about that. And I just want to go out on a limb here and say, like, Ryan is a beast.
Yes, beast.
So little backstory. Little backstory. We've got a push-up challenge going, and I was feeling pretty good about myself. So I sent a video to Ryan, and he's like, "Well, this is the way you really want to do it." And, like, I've never seen anybody do knockout push-ups that clean and fast. And, like, welcome to the gun show. So
I definitely want to say that, in alignment with what Ryan's saying about doing things correctly, like losing the weight wrong or doing a push-up wrong, or incorrectly, wrong is the wrong word. But when you learn to do something correctly, it changes everything. And I think that you're a master at that, Ryan. I think you're so, so, so good at teaching people to do things the correct way. It's a beautiful part of you. So
make me feel warm and fuzzy over here.
There you go.
There you go. Well deserved. So that's a little of your background. So you've got a great empathetic perspective, and I think it'll really resonate with a lot of folks. Give us the 2-minute on Metpro for those folks that don't know what they're all about.
Yeah, so I actually think that my background in doing it wrong is why I feel like Metpro is so great. So it's not a fad diet. It's not, keto. It's not if it fits your macros. It's not paleo. You go down the list of, like, thousands and thousands of different diets. But it's, what I realized a long time ago, especially working with people, is that every body is different. And the way that we react or don't react to certain dietary restrictions or controls is not the same. Mine is not the same as Ed's. It's not the same as Jefi's. And that's where I loved Metpro so much, is because it's based on the individual. It's real food. That was a big key. It's not, here, drink this protein shake 3 times a day. Here's these supplements, right? It's real food that you're going to buy from the grocery store, that you're going to cook yourself. And we watch how someone's body responds to a certain dietary protocol that we have set out for them. And when it's not working, we shift, we change. And that's kind of Metpro in a sense, is we're following metabolism and we're following science, not try this out and see if it works.
Right.
And I think there's a lot more sustainability in that too, is if we're teaching people how to eat, how to cook, and how to look at their food, they're leaving us and being successful on their own, not just, this is a 4-month diet, I'm going to do this, lose weight, and then you gain everything back.
Right.
Yeah.
That's really good. And to add in there, for a lot of people who don't eat meat protein, they don't eat meat, you, Ryan, helped me figure out how to get the elevated amounts of protein in my diet. And for every vegan listening, I'm sure they're like, well, but the deal is this: you can do it what works for you. And that's why I love Metpro, is because it's not a one size fits all. And I was able to manipulate my structure of what I was eating to eat in the way that's important to me.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, that's really good point there, Jefi. And I know for me, the way I look at it, it's almost like you've got this, like, personal coach in your pocket, right? Literally, he's tracking, the system's set to track everything you do, from what you eat to how you're exercising, and it's tweaked along the way. And one of my favorite things is, like, if I'm going to a restaurant, I just say, Ryan, here's the link to the site. What should I order? And he knows what phase I'm on and looks at the menu and makes the recommendation so that I can do the best I can do. So it's a really, really cool system. So I think that's a good transition point to maybe talk a little bit about some of your observations, Ryan, on, what makes people, have success in the system, what works, maybe goals, that type of thing. So your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I was thinking about this question, and I feel like there's two just big factors. Is one of them letting go of any previous information you have, and being coachable, in the sense that I'm bad at this sometimes and better at it at other times. But I think that even if you feel like you know something, because most people, especially when it comes to diet or anything else, like, we all have like a base knowledge of something. We may feel like we know a lot about a particular subject. So bringing that in to the conversation of working with a coach in any aspect, especially with diet, it's a lot of battling. I find my most successful clients are the ones that come in and say, I'm going to pretend like I don't know anything. Teach me what you know. Mm-hmm. And those people thrive. They succeed because they're not going off through the weekend when they don't have access to me and I think this will work, right? No, Ryan said this will not work. Don't do this. And those are really my most successful clients, are the ones that are just coachable. They listen.
I have a question, because a lot of the people that are listening to this podcast are in coaching of some sort. Mm-hmm. And so I want to say this back to you. You're saying that being coachable means coming in with an attitude that you don't know anything. Is that always really the correlation?
Always.
Yeah. See,
always.
Okay.
It's even.
I'm going to say it again.
Yeah.
Say it again, not me. Say it again so people can hear that.
It is always the case. And again, my personal experience with that, like, I've been in the, CrossFit and strength conditioning, and more specifically, my love and joy is Olympic lifting. And at some points throughout my career, I guess, as an Olympic lifter, not great, but at some points I've hired a coach. And even though I'm teaching this stuff to people constantly, I'm in the gym every single day teaching cues and, how to do this and how to move appropriately. When I've worked with a coach, I've found myself not successful and not getting stronger and creating those numbers that I want, because I'm bringing my own ego and, well, no, I know how to do this. It's, this is really the way it should be done. When I've thrown that away and listened to the coach that's telling me what they see, they have an unbiased opinion, that's when I've thrived. And I've done it both ways, and I've seen the difference. And it wasn't the coach, it wasn't the program, it was me listening and forgetting everything I know and going.
That's a good one.
That is so good. And that is so applicable to coaching. I'd never really heard it verbalized quite that way, but I'll tell you, so we're in Buffini coaching, right? Yeah. And it's so often, I know I've turned people onto it and they'll say, well, yeah, that's pretty good, but that doesn't work here, or that won't work for me. It's like they're bringing that bias in immediately, rather than coming in with a little bit of humility and saying, I'm going to just trust this.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And the other, maybe a little bit bad, but if you're hiring a coach and you're paying them, get as much as you can out of it. Really absorb and listen. And it doesn't mean you have to carry that. You can find little things that do end up working and don't end up working, but put your all into that listening and absorbing and retaining, and take that and then applying it is where I find success.
Right.
Well, I'd like to shift here a little bit and maybe talk about how you see people with maybe struggling with, we live in a very short-term focus society. Like I want 6-minute abs. If you can give me 5-minute abs, I'd probably take that, right? Versus, like the long-term approach and how you manage people through that.
I bring up that we need to identify what are short-term goals, medium-term goals, and long-term goals. Always. And they need to be separated out. It's good to have a long-term goal. I may have a client that comes to me that's 250 pounds and wants to weigh 185. That's a great goal. That's not going to happen in a month. It's not going to happen in 2 months. It's not going to happen in 3, 4, 5, maybe sometimes 6 months to a year, but it's a great goal. And I want that in the back of their head. But now we need to create medium-term and short-term goals that are incremental to getting them closer to that long-term goal. And I think a lot of the time, so many people are focused on purely long-term goals. In whatever aspect, it may be your retirement account or your weight loss or a certain number you want to hit in the gym. Like, there's so many of them. But if you just have the long-term goal, it's hard to set out what you're doing leading up into that's keeping you on track. And if we have, medium goals and short goals, then you can say in the short run, hey, here's what I want to accomplish in the next 4 weeks. And if you're not there in 4 weeks, then you have to reassess, did I do everything I should have done in the past 4 weeks? Right? Where did I mess up? Did I get something wrong? How do I change that? And if you didn't, we need to reassess those medium and long-term goals. Maybe it pushes that long-term goal out a little bit more. Or maybe we just need to work a little bit harder and correct those things that we did wrong in those first 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And I think those are critical.
Yeah, I have a question for that. Do you think that when clients lose their short and medium goals, that's when they start to drift?
Yes.
Because they don't have their eyes on that maybe, and they have their eyes only on that really long-term goal?
Yes, but that's the benefit of a coach.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't even create short, medium, and long-term goals for myself. I can't because it's hard to keep track of. With the hustle and bustle, and we've all got good things going on. I'm setting those for my clients, and when I look for a coach, I expect and want them to set those goals for me. And that's what all of us at Metpro are doing, or any good coach is setting those short, and sometimes it's as short as a week, right? And those goals are so different from client to client. I just was working with a client and I said, okay, your only goal over the next week is 1 week to get every single meal in. I actually don't care if they're on plan or off your plan. I want you to get used to the frequency of eating. Mm. Right? Which that is
hard. It's hard,
but it's also simple, right?
Yeah. Yes.
If we just jump straight to, hey, you need to eat 5 meals a day, they all need to be on plan 100%. That's a long-term goal. We're not there yet. They're going to do 3 days of that, lose track of that long-term goal, and they're completely off track.
Right.
I've got an example on this on goals, and we talked about this, Ryan. So, as I mentioned, I was on 2019, I was on Metpro, and I was in much more of I was training for a cycling event, and I was cutting, and I was very focused on that. And I was, I lost like 30 pounds in that effort, all the way through, maybe 25, right? It was a lot. Mm-hmm. And I was very consistently going down. And then we were talking, it's like, I'm really not losing that much weight right now, but my body's changing. And you're like, well, dude, it's because you're in the gym all the time and that's the goal.
And doing push-ups all the time.
Yeah. You're not doing the cardio as much, and we're building a different base, and we'll cut later. Right. Mm-hmm. But if you didn't have a coach like pinging you on the head and saying, what's the goal here? Right. Of course it's a different goal. So you're getting a different result.
Yeah.
Realistic expectations. Right.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Just because you did the same thing dietary 5 years ago, 2 years ago, doesn't mean you're going to get the same result. There's so many variables: stress, sleep, training, you know, like you had said, you know, your training is totally different. If you were doing the same training, would we see those same results? Possibly.
Yeah. I'm different, right? Things,
you're different.
You're different. You're a different place, right? So
that's right.
No, so that's pretty good. Let's talk a little bit about life balance there. How do you help people manage that with the program?
I think that's my favorite area to coach because it's my worst area personally. If I'm being honest, I'm so social and I love going out to eat and meeting friends and going to other people's houses or hosting. And I think in the terms of, you know, diet and exercise, that's like the easiest way to throw off balance. So for me, it's about finding that happy medium and breaking it down into, you know, okay, I'm going to start with diet. I want 80% of my diet to be on track throughout a week span, right? There's those short-term goals. I want 80% of my diet to be on track for the next week, right? And then what does that look like over the next month? And if I exceed that, great, you know, but we want to set metrics to not go below that. And I think life balance is really hard because if you don't have it, you can reach burnout. But if you have too much of it, you're not getting to that success that you want.
Yeah. It's difficult. Go, Jefi. Go ahead.
We as realtors have a very difficult time with life balance because we don't have a time clock that we punch in at 8 a.m. and punch out at 6. Sometimes we work 7 days a week. Sometimes we work 5. But I think it's the same if you think about eating correctly, exercising. There's no time clock either. So there's a huge correlation between taking care of your body and the types of jobs that we have.
Yep.
You have to really figure that balance out.
Yeah. So I'm going to dig in here a little bit and, realtors for the most part are social animals.
Oh, yeah.
They really are
extroverts.
And there's an old joke that, you never want to get between the bar and a realtor because they'll knock you down. Right. So it's the elephant in the room is the alcohol piece, right? Which is, we're in social situations. We tend to like that, generally. And it's going to set you back with the alcohol piece because it's not nutrient rich, right?
No, definitely not.
Right. So how do you help people on that, manage that piece? I got to believe it's a big component of what you work with.
Massive. Yeah. In fact, I get really excited. One of the first conversations I have with people are, do you drink and how often? I need to know what we're working with here. Is it nightly? And I get really excited. I've got a few clients that are like, no, I haven't touched alcohol in 15 years. Like, I'm good. I'm like, yay. It's not going to be
about 15 minutes.
Yeah, yeah, man. Oh my God. So
yeah,
funny.
that would be a little more on point. No, I think focusing on positives rather than negatives is where I find most success in controlling that. And what I mean by that is, there's this around drinking, especially there's this don't nature, especially when it's coming from coaches. Don't drink. Right. And when we hear that we're children by heart, when we hear don't do something, our brain chemistry wants us to do just that. Right. Like, yes. We all know this. So, if I said to you, Ed, like, hey, through this weekend, don't drink. Right. The first thing on your mind is going to be drink.
Right.
Right. Or I'm being bad. Right. And there's an adrenaline rush out of that. There's a little bit of excitement that comes from doing something that you're not supposed to do. So I try as best I can, and I forget this sometimes, but I try as best as I can to focus on positives. Hey, do me a favor. If you feel like it, I want you to cut down your drinking tonight if you can. If you feel like it, have 1 or 2 drinks rather than the 4 or 5 you're going to have. And then I want you to just touch base with me in the morning tomorrow and tell me how you feel. Right. And then highlighting how good it feels to get quality sleep. Wake up not dehydrated and feeling hungover, right?
Yeah.
And even 1 or 2 drinks is going to affect and impact your sleep in such a significant way that you can tell. You wake up that next morning and you're like, wow, I feel good. Okay, I'm going to go to the gym this morning, or I'm going to wake up and read a chapter out of my favorite book, and it's productive. And then I think honing in and finding like the positives out of not doing something is going to be more long lasting than focusing on the, hey, you drank 3 days last weekend. Let's not do that this weekend. That's not going to work.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Alcohol is a waste of calories, really. So, hey, Ed, tell me about the drink that you do, the soda water drink.
Oh yeah, that was just a little hack that I came up with, which is, I'll take a LaCroix and, on the rocks, and then I'll put in bitters, right? Which is like nothing, it maybe has like nothing, except flavor and color. And it looks like a drink, right? And so when I go to the bar and I'm feeling, if I'm out socially, I'll do that. It looks like I'm having something. And we've talked about this, Ryan, like the social pressure you get when you're not drinking is really weird.
That's the worst.
Yeah. That is the worst. And also I got to a point where I was making all my meals and taking them to my friends' houses and drinking the LaCroix. And they gave me a lot of shit at first, but then they stopped once I started my body was changing. So they're like, wow, that's really working. Yeah. So there's workarounds.
You gave him you don't get this without that. So.
I didn't exactly say it like that. But.
That's so fun. Well, I want to talk about maybe some, kind of other on meta stuff, on a higher level. And I think a challenge, we hit it on this a little bit on a coaching call recently, is how do you help people with negative self-talk or limited self-beliefs? And I'll give one of myself, okay? So to kind of give some context here. So, unlike you, Ryan, I was always more the skinny kid, right? I was a runner. I did all that. And so most of my athletic things have been involved around speed and long distance, right? I was terrible at pull-ups, not good at push-ups. And the image of me doing those, I immediately go back to being a middle schooler, literally Mr. DeSalvo was a Marine drill sergeant, retired Marine drill sergeant, right? and those pegboards, and you're falling on the concrete in the gym. Yep. That was me, but I could run. I was really fast. But so my self-image is that I can't do this.
Yeah.
Right. And I realized talking, it's like, well, why not? Right. So that's what we've kind of been focusing on, more of that. So that's an example of like a limited self-belief. How do you help people manage through that?
It's really actually easy. Identify it, because, and again, I'm probably the worst at this, at doing this myself, is most of the time when you set limits for yourself, like I can't do this, or I can't achieve this, or even as simple as like, I've never been able to do this. You're creating a ceiling and then avoidance. And I think avoidance is the massive key, because, and I've done this in the past. I hate burpees. I don't like burpees. I've never been good at burpees. And if you keep that going, that will be true. I mean, if I hate them, I'm going to avoid them. I'm going to not do them. And then I'm never going to get better at them. And I think that the negative part leads to avoidance. And when you avoid something, practicing anything, it's always going to get worse, or just never move the needle at all. And you can change that. And Ed, I'll ask you, like in the times where you've had that talk, I can't do pull-ups, I've never been able to do pull-ups, how many times are you going to the gym and trying to do pull-ups?
Zero.
None. Right?
Yeah.
How do
I'll get to the bar and I'll like stretch, stretch out, and then I'll like,
So funny.
and then I'll walk away because I'm like back in middle school, right?
Yeah.
Like, can we go out to the track and run around?
So you avoid.
Yeah, you avoid. And
I avoid.
tying this back to real estate, I avoid calling people I haven't talked to in a long time because I have this negative stuff. Oh, they don't want to hear from me. They don't want to talk to me. I don't have anything to tell them. It's the same thing. You can take these things to every point of your life.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. It's the same thing. It's just a different application of it.
Yeah,
That's really,
exactly.
really interesting.
And then an example, right? Actually, for both of you, I think an example of changing that is the push-ups that we have been doing. And I love that. You know, we started this group chat. You guys are doing these push-ups, and I immediately come in and I'm like, scratch everything. We're not, like scratch everything. This is the way a push-up should look. This is your range of motion. And rather, those first videos of you guys doing those push-ups, you could have said like, these are too hard. These are too challenging, and gone back to doing them the way you did them before. Right?
Yeah.
Or just gave up on them entirely. But you both did that differently. It fully embraced like, okay, I suck at this now. I'm not doing good. I don't feel strong, but I'm going to keep going. And you guys are both doing better at this.
I know. This is crazy. Talk about negative self-talk here. I had rotator cuff surgery and my shoulder's super weak. And then I hurt my elbow months ago, still recovering. But I still did it. I'm like, I could do one. And the competitor in me, I'm like, that's shitty. I can only do one. But the next day I did two. Mm-hmm. The next day I did three. So you're right, Ryan. You just gotta work through that. Work. That is a huge one. I wrote that down. I'm taking that. I'm putting a sticky note on my forever for life.
That is
this is my life lesson.
In simple terms, I tell my clients, embrace the suck. Just embrace it so much.
Well, and again, I talked about it before, but like I was at like, I'm doing 35, I'm on my way to 50, and then I show you the video, and now I'm doing like 8 because
this is really cool too. If you video yourself doing something, there's no lie. Mm-mm. There's no lie. You look at it, you can analyze it. Are you doing it properly? It's the same with videotaping yourself making a phone call or videotaping yourself doing a listing presentation. You can go back through and you can go, this is some place I have some room to work, or, hey, good job. I did a great job there. So that's a cool thing too. I like it.
Yeah. No, it really is. Well, we're going to need to wrap here pretty quickly, but I do want to ask one question. If someone was coming in cold to this and you could give them like one tip, one hack to improve their diet and their fitness to kind of launch them in the right way, short of like coming into Metpro all the way, what would it be?
Eat whole foods and exercise daily.
Eat whole foods and exercise daily.
Anything that comes in a box with a nutrition label on it, stay away from it. My general rule of thumb is if you can't wash it, don't eat it. Oh. That's actually my favorite thing I've told so many of my clients. If you can't wash it, don't eat it. And that relates to so many simple things. Like you can wash beans and meat and vegetables and so many different other products that you can find in the grocery store. If you can run it underwater and go turn around and cook it, good. If you can't wash it, don't eat it. And that tells you it's a good whole food. And then when I say exercise daily, I'm not talking about the gym. Get out and do something active. It can be washing your car, mowing your lawn, gardening, whatever is active that gets you doing something daily. I don't go to the gym every day, but I definitely go on a walk or a hike or ride a bike or, go play with my dogs in the backyard or garden. Like there's so many things you can do. If you have those two simple things, you'll see success and you'll build new habits.
I love it. I love
Awesome.
it. We love you, Ryan.
You're
I love
an
you
amazing
guys.
guy. You're
I'm
an
so happy
amazing
to
guy.
be here.
You're making a big difference from us. I know that Metpro and you can make a big difference for others. We'll have a link to Metpro if you want to learn more, but they're at metpro.co, correct?
Yep, metpro.co. They can visit our website. It's right, big bold on there. Schedule a consultation, and free of charge. Like if they just want more information or talk to us, they can schedule a consultation and chat about where they're coming from, what their needs are, and see if we're a good fit.
Yeah.
All right.
I love it. Thanks,
Very good.
Ryan.
Thank you, guys.
Ryan, thank you so much. See you.
All right, everybody. See you later.